Animals' nervous system. The multicellular animals, except sponges, have specialized cells called nerve cells, or neurons, to respond to stimuli and coordinate their activities. A system made up of nerve cells is called nervous system. The control and coordination in higher animals called vertebrates, including human beings, takes place through nervous system as well as hormonal system called endocrine system. The sense organs contain receptors. A receptor is a cell, or a group of cells, in a sense organ which is sensitive to a particular type of stimulus, or a particular type of change in the environment, such as light, sound, smell, taste, heat, pressure, etc. The different sense organs contain receptors for detecting different stimuli. The eyes have light receptors, which can detect light, ears have sound receptors, which can detect sound, nose has smell receptors, which can detect smell, tongue has taste receptors, which can detect taste, whereas skin has receptors for detecting touch, pressure, heat or cold, and pain, etc. The common type of receptors also have special names such as photoreceptors, phonoreceptors, olfactory receptors, gustatory receptors, and thermoreceptors. Photoreceptors detect light, they are present in eyes. Phonoreceptors detect sound, they are present in inner ears. Olfactory receptors detect smell, they are present in nose. Gustatory receptors detect taste, they are present in tongue, whereas thermoreceptors detect heat or cold, they are present in skin. The human nervous system receives information from the surroundings, processes it, interprets it, and then responds accordingly. Nervous system is made of special cells called neurons. Neuron is the largest cell in the body. Neurons contain the same basic parts as any other animal cell, but their structure is specially adapted to be able to carry messages over large distances in the body quickly. The neurons carry messages in the form of electrical signals called electrical impulses or nerve impulses. The shorter fibers on the body of a neuron are called dendrites. The longest fiber on the cell body of a neuron is called axon. The axon has an insulating and protective sheath, or cover, of myelin around it. Myelin is made of fat and protein. It is clear that both dendrites and axon arise from the cell body of a neuron. The messages which the neurons transmit in the nervous system are in the form of electrical impulses called nerve impulses, or just impulses. The dendrites pick up the nerve impulses, or messages, from receptors. They pass the impulses to the cell body and then along the axon. The axon passes the impulse, or message, to another neuron through a junction called synapse. What happens in reflex actions? The simplest form of response in the nervous system is reflex action. This is a rapid, automatic response to a stimulus which is not under the voluntary control of the brain. It is described as an involuntary action. Thus, a reflex action is one which we perform automatically. It is a comparatively simple form of behavior in which the same stimulus produces the same response every time. If we unknowingly touch a hot plate, we immediately move our hand away from it. So, moving our hand away on touching a hot plate is an example of reflex action. Similarly, moving our foot away when we step on something sharp is also an example of reflex action. A reflex action is an automatic response to a stimulus. The stimulus here is the heat which we feel in our hand on touching the hot plate. This heat is sensed by a heat receptor in our hand. The receptor triggers an impulse in a sensory neuron, which transmits the message to the spinal cord. Here, the impulse is passed on to a relay neuron, which in turn passes it to a motor neuron. The motor neuron passes the impulse to a muscle in our arm. The muscle then contracts and pulls our hand away from the hot plate. The muscle of arm is ineffective because it responds to the stimulus. This pathway along which the impulse travels is called the reflex arc. The reflexes of this type, which involve only the spinal cord, are called spinal reflexes. Those spinal reflexes are produced in the spinal cord, but the message of reflex action taken also goes on to reach the brain. Those reflex actions which involve brain are called cerebral reflexes. Cerebral reflexes occur in the organs present in the head because these organs are directly connected to the brain. Human brain. The central nervous system, CNS, consists of the brain and the spinal cord. The work of central nervous system is to direct incoming messages to the motor neurons that are connected to the part of the body which will respond to a stimulus. In complicated responses, the brain and spinal cord are both involved. That is, in complicated responses, central nervous system is involved. The central nervous system enables a person to give a more appropriate and more intelligent response to various situations. The job of the central nervous system is to collect all the information from all the receptors in our body. Spinal cord is made up of nerves which supply information to think about. Thinking involves more complex mechanisms and neural connections. These are concentrated in the brain, which is the main coordinating center of the body. The brain and spinal cord constitute the central nervous system. They receive information from all parts of the body and integrate it. The communication between the central nervous system and the other parts of the body is facilitated by the peripheral nervous system consisting of cranial nerves arising from the brain and spinal nerves arising from the spinal cord. The brain thus allows us to think and take actions based on that thinking. Brain. Brain is the highest coordinating center in the body. The brain is located inside the skull of our body. It is protected by a bony box in the skull called cranium. The brain is surrounded by three membranes called meninges, which help to protect it. The brain is broadly divided into three regions: forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. The forebrain consists mainly of cerebrum. The midbrain does not have any further divisions. The hindbrain consists of three centers called pons, cerebellum, and medulla. The cerebrum, or forebrain, is the main thinking part of the brain. All the voluntary actions of the body are coordinated by the cerebrum. The midbrain controls reflex movements of the head, neck, and trunk in response to visual and auditory stimuli. It also controls the reflex movements of the eye muscles, changes in pupil size and shape of the eye lens. Hindbrain, which are divided into three parts: pons, cerebellum, and medulla. The pons takes part in regulating respiration. The cerebellum helps in maintaining posture and balance of the body. It also enables us to make precise and accurate movements. The cerebellum coordinates smooth body movements such as walking, dancing, riding a bicycle, and picking up a pencil, etc. Medulla controls various involuntary actions such as heartbeat, breathing, blood pressure, and peristaltic movements of alimentary canal. Medulla is also the controlling center for reflexes such as swallowing, coughing, sneezing, secretion of saliva, and coordination in plants. The changes in the environment to which the organisms respond and react are called stimuli. Both plants and animals react or respond to various stimuli around them. But the method of reacting to stimuli is not similar in plants and animals. They react to stimuli in different ways. For example, plants bend towards light, but animals do not bend towards light. The animals can react to stimuli in many different ways because they have a nervous system and an endocrine system involving hormones. The plants, however, react to stimuli in a very limited way. This is because the plants do not have a nervous system like the animals have. The plants use only the hormones for producing reaction to external stimuli. The plants coordinate their behavior against environmental changes by using hormones. Animals can respond quickly because they have a nervous system. Plants cannot respond quickly because they have no nervous system. The plants respond to various stimuli very slowly by growing. So, in most of the cases, the response of a plant to a stimulus cannot be observed immediately. It usually takes a considerable time to observe the effect of a stimulus on a plant. From the above discussion, we conclude that the function of control and coordination in plants is performed by the chemical substances called plant hormones. Movement due to growth. Plants do not show locomotion, movement of the entire body. However, movements of the individual parts or organs of a plant, like shoot, root, leaves, etc., are possible when they are subjected to some external stimuli like light, force of gravity, chemical substances, water, and touch, etc. These movements of the plant part are usually caused by an unequal growth in its two regions by the action of plant hormones under the influence of the stimulus. The movement in any part of a plant is usually a growth movement. The plant movements made in response to external stimuli fall into two main categories: tropisms and nasties. Though all the tropisms are growth movements, but nasties may be growth movements or growth-independent movements. In tropisms, the direction of stimulus determines the direction of movement of the plant part, but in nasties the direction of movement is not determined by the direction of stimulus. A growth movement of a plant part in response to an external stimulus in which the direction of stimulus determines the direction of response is called tropism. Thus, tropism is a directional movement of the part of a plant caused by its growth. The growth of a plant part in response to a stimulus can be towards the stimulus or away from the stimulus, due to which we can have a positive tropism or negative tropism. If the growth or movement of a plant part is towards the stimulus, it is called positive tropism, and if the growth or movement of a plant part is away from the stimulus, then it is called negative tropism. There are 5 common stimuli in the environment: light, gravity, chemicals, water, and touch or contact. These 5 stimuli give us 5 types of tropisms: phototropism, geotropism, chemotropism, hydrotropism, and thigmotropism. In phototropism, the stimulus is light. In geotropism, the stimulus is gravity. In chemotropism, the stimulus is a chemical. In hydrotropism, the stimulus is water. And in thigmotropism, the stimulus is touch. The movement of a plant part in response to light is called phototropism. In other words, the response of a plant to light is called phototropism. If the plant part moves towards light, it is called positive phototropism. On the other hand, if the plant part moves away from light, then it is called negative phototropism. The stem of a growing plant bends towards light, so the stem of a plant shows positive phototropism. On the other hand, the roots of a plant move away from light, so the roots of a plant show negative phototropism. The movement of a plant part in response to gravity is called geotropism. In other words, the response of a plant to gravity is called geotropism. If the plant part moves in the direction of gravity, it is called positive geotropism. On the other hand, if the plant part moves against the direction of gravity, it is negative geotropism. The movement of a plant part in response to a chemical stimulus is called chemotropism. In other words, the response of a plant to chemical stimulus is called chemotropism. The growth of pollen tube towards the ovule during the process of fertilization in a flower is an example of chemotropism. It is actually positive chemotropism. The movement of a plant part in response to water is called hydrotropism. In other words, the response of a plant part to water is called hydrotropism. If the plant part moves towards water, it is called positive hydrotropism. On the other hand, if the plant part moves away from water, then it is called negative hydrotropism. The roots of a plant always go towards water, so roots are positively hydrotropic. The directional growth movement of a plant part in response to the touch of an object is called thigmotropism. The climbing parts of the plants such as tendrils grow towards any support which they happen to touch and wind around that support. So, tendrils of plants are positively thermotropic. Plant hormones. The control and coordination in plants is done by plant hormones or phytohormones. The plant hormones coordinate the activities of the plant by controlling one or the other aspect of the growth of the plant. So, the plant hormones are also known as plant growth substances. The growth of a plant can be divided into three stages: cell division, cell enlargement, and cell differentiation. These three stages of plant growth, as well as promotion of dormancy, breaking of dormancy, stomata control, falling of leaves, fruit growth, ripening of fruits, and aging in plants are controlled by the various plant hormones. There are four major types of plant hormones, or phytohormones, which are involved in the control and coordination in plants. These are 1. Auxins, 2. Gibberellins, 3. Cytokinin, and 4. Abscisic acid. Auxins are the plant hormones which promote cell enlargement and cell differentiation in plants. Auxins also promote fruit growth. Auxin hormone controls a plant's response to light and gravity. In other words, auxin hormone is responsible for the phototropic and geotropic responses of plants. Auxin is made by cells at the tip of stems and roots. Auxin moves away from light and towards gravity. Auxin has opposite effect on the growth of stem and roots. Auxin speeds up growth in stem but it slows down growth in roots. Gibberellins are plant hormones which promote cell enlargement and cell differentiation in the presence of auxins. Gibberellins help in breaking. Cytokinins are the plant hormones which promote cell division in plants. Cytokinins also help in breaking the dormancy of seeds and buds. They delay the aging in leaves. Cytokinins promote the opening of stomata. They also promote fruit growth. Abscisic acid is a plant hormone which functions mainly as a growth inhibitor. Abscisic acid promotes the dormancy in seeds and buds. It also promotes the closing of stomata. Abscisic acid promotes the wilting and falling of leaves. It also causes the detachment of flowers and fruits from the plants. Hormones in animals. Hormones are chemical substances secreted in very small amounts by specialized tissues in the body called endocrine glands. These hormones coordinate the activities of living organisms and also their growth. So, we can now say that hormones are the chemical substances which coordinate the activities of living organisms and also their growth. There are two types of glands in the body: exocrine glands and endocrine glands. The endocrine glands present in the human body are pineal gland, hypothalamus gland, pituitary gland, thyroid gland, parathyroid glands, thymus, pancreas, adrenal glands, testes, only in males, and ovaries, only in females. The endocrine glands are located in the head, neck and trunk of our body. The hormones produced by endocrine glands act as messengers between the nervous system and the organs of our body. There are two adrenal glands in our body, one on top of each kidney. The adrenal glands make adrenaline hormone. The adrenaline hormone prepares our body to function at maximum efficiency during emergency situations like danger, anger, excitement, etc. The adrenaline hormone prepares our body to run away very fast from a frightening object. Similarly, it is the adrenaline hormone which prepares our body to fight an enemy by providing us a lot of energy in a very short time. The complete coordination in the human body is achieved by the nervous system and endocrine system working together. The main centers in the body for the coordination of the two systems of control are the hypothalamus and pituitary gland. The hypothalamus plays an important role in collecting information from other regions of the brain and from blood vessels passing through it. This information is passed on to pituitary gland, which by its own secretions, directly or indirectly, regulates the activities of all other endocrine glands. Hypothalamus gland is present in the brain. Hypothalamus produces releasing hormones and inhibitory hormones. The function of hypothalamus is to regulate the secretions of hormones from pituitary gland. That is, hypothalamus controls the pituitary hormones. One of the hormones secreted by pituitary gland is growth hormone. The growth hormone controls the growth of the human body. Growth hormone controls the development of bones and muscles. Thyroid gland makes a hormone called thyroxine. The function of thyroxine hormone is to control the rate of metabolism of carbohydrates, fats and proteins in the body. Iodine is necessary for the making of thyroxine hormone by thyroid gland. Therefore, a deficiency of iodine in the diet can cause a deficiency of thyroxine hormone in the body. The deficiency of iodine in the diet of a person produces less thyroxine hormone and causes a disease known as goiter. There are four small parathyroid glands which are embedded in the thyroid gland. Parathyroid glands secrete a hormone called parathormone. The function of parathormone hormone is to regulate calcium and phosphate levels in the blood. Thymus gland lies in the lower part of the neck and upper part of chest. Thymus gland secretes thymus hormone which plays a role in the development of the immune system of the body. Thymus gland is large in young children but shrinks after puberty. Pancreas secretes the hormone called insulin. The function of insulin hormone is to lower the blood sugar level. Deficiency of insulin hormone in the body causes a disease known as diabetes. Diabetes disease is characterized by large quantities of sugar in the blood. The insulin hormone controls the metabolism of sugar. If, due to some reason, pancreas does not produce and secrete sufficient amount of insulin into blood, then the sugar level in the blood rises. There are two adrenal glands which are located on the top of two kidneys. The adrenal glands secrete adrenaline hormone. The function of adrenaline hormone is to regulate heart rate, breathing rate, blood pressure, and carbohydrate metabolism. Adrenaline hormone is secreted in small amounts all the time, but in large amounts when a person is frightened or excited. Testes make male sex hormones called testosterone. The function of testosterone hormone is to control the development of male sex organs and male features such as deeper voice, mustache beard, and more body hair. Ovaries are the glands which are present only in females, women. Ovaries make two female sex hormones called estrogen and progesterone. The function of estrogen hormone is to control the development of female sex organs and female features such as feminine voice, soft skin, and mammary glands. The function of progesterone hormone is to control the uterus changes in menstrual cycle. It also helps in the maintenance of pregnancy. The ovaries also make the female gametes called ova.